the thought came out of nowhere. It wasn't my thought. And it just said to me, when they drop that, make sure you look the other way. It's very important, apparently. And I was like, okay. The message came through again. It's like, I mean it. It's really important. Like, when they drop it, you look the other way. It kept repeating that I needed to look the other way. And finally, I was like, I'm not stupid. I'll look the other way.
Well, look the other way. Welcome. This is Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. I am your host, Trapper Jack. This has elements to the Lott's wife story, biblical story of Lott's wife. This is a Genesis thing. This was God was about to destroy Sodom because it was sinful. It was evil. So he's going to destroy it. But Lot had found favor with God, so he was going to save Lot and his family. So through an angel, Lot and his wife and the two daughters were told, okay, run. There's going to be a point where you're just going to run. There's a small town over there. You're going to run over there. On your run, don't look back. Don't look. Whatever you do, don't look back, because behind you, God's going to be throwing hot rocks. He's going to be throwing fire onto Sodom, and he's going to be destroying. It's not going to be pretty. Don't look back. So off they go. They go running to the next small town. And of course, there had to be one curious one, and that was the wife. And the wife kind of looks back, sneaks a peek, and bam, she's turned into a pillar of salt. Sad, sad. Then Lot and the daughters dragged mom to their next house and stuck her on the dining room table where she provided seasoning for the rest of their lives. It's part of the story you don't hear a whole lot. They bought the matching pillar of pepper. I'm sorry. Is there humor in the Bible? A pillar of salt. That is creative. You got it. God, that is creative, and God is always creative. A pillar of salt. There's a message in that, isn't there? Would you obey me, for Pete's sake? So anyway, that's coming up. Karen Riddle's story from Sydney, Australia. That is coming up. It's a great story. It's a wonderful story. A couple of things before that. Number one, talk about look away. Look away. I'd like to look away, but we haven't been able to look away this past week at the scandal, pre-scandal, another one, this time in Pennsylvania, hundreds of priests, 1,000 victims. It's sad, disgusting, all the things that have gone through your mind. And for a couple of days, this thing that's all I was thinking about. It's just disgusting. But while we're looking at that 20-car pileup on the side of the road as we're driving by, Christ is straight ahead on the road saying, yo, hey, that's not the church. That's not me. That's not me over there. Those aren't shepherds over there. Those were wolves over there. Over here, I'm the high priest. I am the one high priest. Keep your eyes on me. This is like when, in my younger day, I used to just love magic. And I would, anytime there was a great magician on television, I would watch him and record him. I'd record it. And then I would play it back because I wanted to know, how did he do that? How did he do that? And I'd watch over and over and over. And sometimes, even though I might figure out how he did it, I still couldn't see how he did it. But sometimes I could. Many times I could have, look at that, the mirrors just dropped. There's mirrors there, so you can't see what's happening behind the mirrors. Whoa, look at that. Or, his hand just went into the pocket. Or whatever it was. Whatever it was, I was just like, what I was seeing was the truth. Everyone else is looking at over here. Wow, imagine, then that's kind of what's going on right now, that 20-car pileup on the side of the road. Everyone's staring at that like that's where the action is. That's not where it's happening. That's not it. The truth is in the other hand. And that's Christ. That's Jesus. The truth is in the right hand. And Christ is also saying, you should have listened to my mom. Why didn't you listen to my mom back when this, what am I talking about? In 1961 through 1965, Mary appeared at Garabandal, Spain, to 4 young girls. And it was similar to her many other apparitions. It was, pray the rosary every day. It was repent, turn to my son. It was chastisement is coming. And she really emphasized that there was going to be some supreme penalty for not turning to Christ, a chastisement. And in one of her final messages, she said, and I quote, "Many cardinals, many bishops, many priests are on the road to perdition, hell, and they're taking many souls with them." And she said to pray for the priests. And at the time, and this is not, despite everything, and there was a Eucharistic miracle that happened there, tons of things happened, but this is not an Catholic-approved miraculous event, perhaps because of what I just told you. And at the time, in the 60s, there was no evidence of anything going on. It's like, what is she talking about? This can't be real because the priests aren't doing it. What are they talking about? What is she talking about? There's nothing going on here. Everything's fine. And then everyone just, hierarchy was sweeping things under the rug for decades. So it's not like we weren't told, or some hint of something going on. A little warning to priests, get your act together. And Jesus said it would be better to have a millstone tied around your neck and thrown into the sea than to harm one of these little ones. This past week, I've heard, I get music. Songs bubble up in my head. I look up the lyrics, that kind of thing, because I don't know lyrics. 2 songs. One, my wife and I just had the opportunity to see the play Hamilton. Great play, tons of music, right? But there was one song that just kept playing over and over and over again, and it's at the wedding, and it's a song that's to the groom, to the groom, to the groom, to the bride, to the bride, to the bride. And of course, as we spiritualize the lyrics, we're talking about Christ and his church, the groom and the bride. The other song I got, and you look at this church, this bride, and the bride has some issues here, doesn't the bride? The bride has some serious issues. And the other song said it again. It was the Eagles song, I Can't Tell You Why. And I've never looked at those lyrics. I had no idea what that song was about. It's about a couple. Here's a guy singing to the girl, and he is saying, we were up all night going at it, tearing each other apart. We've lived in darkness for years, and I've tried to turn and walk away. I have turned and walk away, and I can't tell you why, but I keep turning back because I love you. I love you. Despite all our issues, I love you. And there again, the groom and the bride. Oh, I take that back. There was a third song. There was a third song giving us hope, which was, it's the bride singing it. And she's singing, and we spiritualize the lyrics, but she keeps saying, I do, I do, I do. The song is called Hopeless. And it's about being hopelessly in love. And it's, I do, I do, I do. I'm down for the count. And she's totally smitten. She's in. And that represents us too. As the church, as imperfect as we are, we love our Jesus. We love our groom. But we're probably not done with the scandals yet. Probably not yet. This could probably tip of the iceberg. Tentacles into other states. This is just Pennsylvania. So tentacles into other states. So more hundreds of priests, more thousands of victims. Very possible. Very possible. And for the lukewarm, one more reason. I'm headed for the doors again. If that's the church, I'm out of here. And Jesus said, lukewarm, I will spew you out of my mouth. And he's spewing big time. Lukewarm, hot or cold, which way you going? You leaving? Fine. You coming? Great. Hot or cold, which way you going? And the lukewarm get pushed out during these kinds of things, don't they? Because they think that's the church. It ain't the church. That's not the church. I'm going to be speaking in a church very soon. I'm excited about this because coming up in the Cleveland, Ohio area, St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church, Medina, Ohio, Wednesday, September 5th, 2018, between 7 and 8 p.m. It's how blindness led me back to my faith. The reason I'm excited, this is the first time I am tying it all together. Ultimately, it's how the miraculous can lead us all back. Everyone has someone who's wandered away or about to wander away, has lots of questions. They don't know that what was going on 2,000 years ago is still going on today. They don't know miraculous healings are happening. Angels are still doing their thing, divine interventions, all kinds of things, God incidents. God is speaking. He just doesn't speak English very well. He speaks very broken English. I mentioned that a couple of episodes ago. It was called Why God Doesn't Speak English. There aren't enough words in the English language. So what does he speak? He speaks burning bush. He speaks parting the Red Sea. He speaks manna from heaven. He speaks the resurrection. He speaks miraculous healings, Eucharistic miracles. He speaks the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. He speaks Fatima. He is talking very loudly. We don't have to convince anybody of anything. People just need to know the stories, true stories, scientific stories, great stuff. I'm so looking forward to it because it's the miraculous that brought me back. It's bringing millions of people back throughout the world. And it can keep people in the pews, number one. And number two, those people who have wandered away, they can come back because they'll find out that God is not boring. He is very active and he wants a conversation. Just don't expect English. Just do not expect English. And now, in this episode, let's talk about how God spoke to Karen Riddle 4 years before she became a Christian. Karen Riddle of Sydney, Australia, was getting a direct message from heaven.
Hello, Karen speaking.
How are we doing, Karen?
I'm well. How are you?
It was so weird. And I mentioned to you in my message yesterday morning, I woke up and I get music, as you may or may not know this about me. I get music and it
yes.
And I'm hearing, I'm not kidding. I'm hearing Waltzing Matilda. I'm going, waltzing. Am I going to Australia? What's the deal? I open up my emails and there you are, with a story. And I thought, didn't that kind of sound strange to you?
Well, I know that you do get that. So it doesn't sound that strange. I guess because it had been on my heart to actually contact you for quite some time.
And just to get a time on this, just so I called you at 8 a.m., which was 10 p.m. your time.
Yes, Friday morning. Are you?
You actually live in the future. Does it look any different?
I do.
Does it look any different from here because you're in the future?
Oh, it's beautiful here.
Oh, good.
You'll love it. Yeah, you'll love it. Just wait till you get here. There's jammies and a cup of tea waiting for you. It's perfect.
Oh, I love it.
See?
Well, tell me about your story. Yeah. What happened?
Well, it was the strangest thing. So I was walking home from the train station one day, and I did this every day. It wasn't anything unusual. It was kind of dusk, and as I was walking along one side of the street, I noticed 3 young men walking down the other side of the street, and they had something really big covered in a sheet. So I looked at them and really kind of dismissed them, and then I had a thought in my head that wasn't mine. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, because it was certainly the same. If I have a thought in my head, it was that same voice, but the thought came out of nowhere. It wasn't my thought, and it just said to me, "When they drop that, make sure you look the other way." And I was like, that was a bit weird, but yeah, fair enough. So I kind of didn't acknowledge it because why would you really?
Yeah. And when you say it was big, when you give us some parameters here, this thing that was covered in a sheet.
Well, I guess 3 guys were struggling to carry it.
It was heavy. 3 guys were kind of under it, carrying it kind of on their shoulder kind of thing?
Yeah, I kind of thought it might have been like someone's TV or something. I thought maybe they're like, maybe they. And then I still have no idea what was under there.
Okay, because when you first said that, I thought, well, they got a dead body? What the heck do they?
Yeah, well, it didn't look like a body, so there is that.
Okay.
My first thought was maybe they've got someone's TV or like a very large TV. It's going back a while. But yeah, the 3 of them, it was requiring 3 of them to carry it.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah. So
and you're getting this message, if they drop this thing, don't look. Yeah,
look the other way.
Okay.
It's very important apparently, and I was like, okay. So I ignored it, and then the message came through again. It's like, I mean it. It's really important. Like when they drop it, you look the other way. And so out loud, I go, yeah, okay, I hear you. I'll look the other way. And in my head, it came back at me. And what followed was a couple of minutes as we were, because they were a little bit ahead of me, and they were walking toward me, and I was walking toward them on the other side of the road. What followed was a couple of really strange minutes of me really talking to this voice in my head. And it was quite funny. Like, it was joking with me. It was, it kept repeating that I needed to look the other way. And finally I was like, I'm not stupid. I'll look the other way. Like, you can stop telling me. It's fine. I get it.
Meanwhile, now they're on the other side of the street, walking your way in your opposite. So you've seen them from quite a ways down then, obviously, for this to transpire over a couple of minutes or whatever. Yeah,
that's right. So it's a couple of minutes of walking. And so the voice says to me, it's like, look the other way, look the other way, look the other way. And I'm like, I hear you. It's like, seriously, I'll look the other way. And so it was like, I guess the reason I think the story is not that exciting is because at no point was it scary. And it occurred to me that was because I was laughing and joking like a crazy person with this voice in my head.
Which I assume had never happened before?
No. But bizarrely, apparently I thought that like I was just doing that as if that was a completely normal thing to do. Mm-hmm. Which is odd. Like, I don't know why I didn't go, wow, maybe you're going crazy. But so I had quite a nice time laughing and joking with this voice. And then all of a sudden the voice said, I'm going to stop talking now. Get ready. they're going to drop it now. Remember, it's very important you look the other way. And so I took another step or two, and then I heard bang. And they were to my right. So I immediately looked to my left, and I felt like an idiot because I was craning my neck and I'm looking for this imaginary sound that clearly had happened, on the other side of the road from me. And I was basically opposite them at the time that it happened. So I'm looking and I'm carefully looking. And then I decided I'd probably looked long enough. And so I sort of turned. I didn't look at them at all. I just sort of turned to my head a little bit and started walking forward again. And not long after I started walking forward, I heard one of the men say, no, man, it's okay. She looked the other way. And then I looked towards them, and so one of them had actually been headed in my direction and had his back turned to me now and was walking back toward the group of men. And they just kept going on their way and I kept going on mine. And then I remembered the voice in my head, and I went to say, oh, my goodness, thank you. But there was nothing. There was no voice. It was gone.
Obviously, one of them was concerned that you saw whatever, because he's coming your way, and then he turns around.
Uh-huh.
This is weird.
Uh-huh. And then one of the other ones.
What the heck is this? What? I mean, really, honest to God.
I have no idea.
So when they dropped it, it would seem that the sheet came off of it, whatever it was, because otherwise there would be no concern that you would see whatever this thing was. So you would think maybe the sheet came off, they put the sheet back on. No, don't worry, she's looking the other way. I mean, this is just weird. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You have no idea. Super
weird. And not like I literally didn't see it because it had been sort of impressed on me so diligently that it was very important that I looked the other way. And I guess what surprised me the most was that the guy used the same words. No, it's okay. She looked the other way. And the words that the voice had been using, it's very important. You look the other way. And so it was bizarre to me that he also used the same words. Mm-hmm. And that he'd noticed. So obviously one of them had noticed me looking the other way while I was diligently checking out nothing, and was able to communicate that.
Just strange. And anything like that before or after since?
No, just this. And I guess, it doesn't feel very like a very exciting story. I guess I figured that was probably because it wasn't scary at any point. I felt completely like I had someone walking with me, and we were laughing and chatting. And then once the whatever had happened, they were on their way and I was on my way and everything was back to normal.
But in this divine intervention thing, this angelic voice, whatever you were here, do you assume angel? What do you assume?
I don't know. I've only really been a Christian for about a year. I'm super new at this, and this happened quite some time ago. Okay. So I just kind of put it down to God. So whether that would be an angel or whether it was God or whether I don't know. Okay. And because it was my own voice in my head that I could hear, so I couldn't even say it felt male or female or young or old, or it was just this quite amusing.
But it was just this one moment where you're having this conversation with this being that, you like you say, you don't know if it's man or woman, but something is saying to you. It just keeps repeating that same phrase.
Mm-hmm. And in the funniest ways.
Yeah, in the funniest ways.
Making a song out of look the other way, joking with me when I'm telling it to stop it because I understand I've got the message,
Singing
really
it to
just
you.
maintaining that.
Even as a musical tune.
Yeah, just it was quite a lovely interaction. It didn't occur to me for a moment that it was like very, very strange until afterward.
And in this moment, but the thing is, without question, the guy walking towards you that was turned around potentially could have caused you physical harm.
Yes. Yeah. I'm assuming the reason that he was coming toward me was that he was going to have some kind of interaction with me that was stopped because his friend, he informed him that I had in fact looked the other way. Something,
yeah. I don't know if that was going to be the end of your life or if that was going to be something very harmful physically that would have caused you, who knows? I don't know, but that voice saved you from harm. Saved you from harm.
Yeah.
It changed the outcome. It ultimately changed the outcome. Interesting. Of course, the other part there, that little grenade that you threw in during part of this conversation was, well, yeah, a year ago I became a Christian. So we go back to that. And I ask you, what were you before, and what happened to bring you to the Christian side?
I was always quite interested, I guess. Well, I would have called myself spiritual before, I guess, but didn't really have any understanding of Jesus, or I didn't go to church or anything like that. And then we just had some really challenging times. And my husband and I were talking about how we were going to get through these times. And he said, I just think we should go to church. And I said, okay. And it's because it sounded like a way that we could, really get, I guess, just get some help. And what we found was just a lovely, lovely church who took us through the Christianity Explored course and who answered all of our questions. And our life today is just very, very different from where it was, a little over a year ago, just because we accepted Jesus Christ and we now know God, and it's made just the most amazing difference.
How's that? What changed?
So I think for me particularly, it was this idea of really knowing that I could, well, first of all, having some gratefulness for what He has done for us, but also knowing that I'm really not in control. Like, I pretend I'm in control, but I'm not. And I guess the story says that, so I don't have to keep fighting this fight to have everything my way and do things my way. And, what I can do is I can hand it to God, and I can say, I know that your plan for my life is a plan where I'm useful in the world and where I make a difference. And you understand the plan, even if I don't. And I'm going to go with your plan, not mine.
How about your husband? Same, different?
Same. He's somebody that nobody ever expected would be a Christian, ever. He used to do sort of energetic healing and was very out there kind of guy, and not one who I think all of our friends were. No one was that shocked about me, but everyone was quite surprised about him. And so he's solid. He's really there, and it took him a while, as you say. And I think it's a little bit rare because I know that our church doesn't have a lot of adults coming into the church. And I know from your listening to your podcast, you're talking about young people are leaving the church. So I think we're a little bit rare in that as adults, we've come actually into the church from not having been part of it our entire life.
People are coming in or they're leaving. You know what I mean? And there you were. I don't know if you were probably cold more than lukewarm. You were just out of it. You just weren't in this thing at all. And then suddenly some bit of flickering light in you, as it was with me, got lit, and now you're on fire with it. I love seeing this. I love seeing that little ember just take off. It's
beautiful and it's amazing, and we're so thankful. And just so thankful. I'm thankful for the challenges that have actually led me here. Now I look back and they're worth it. They were worth it. If that's what it took to get me here, absolutely worth it. Yeah,
for me it was blindness. It was blindness that led me ultimately. It was that led me to people that were so connected that ember that was in me got ignited, and away we go. Is there anything else in the Touched by Heaven series, the episodes that you've listened to? Is there anything that just kind of really jumped out at you? Is there anything that touched you deeply?
I actually really like hearing your take on the stories, and also and when you were talking about sort of the talks that you were doing at schools, and just the amazing things that God is doing in the world to show people that He's here, that He's with us all the time. And I mean, I really like listening to the stories, but I actually like hearing what you have to say about them, and how you connect that back to your knowledge of sort of the Bible, and that I guess that's probably what I enjoy the most.
Well, God bless. I'm glad it touches. It
does.
Yeah. Anything that your husband's experienced where it was a definite wow, a definite maybe in the process of becoming a Christian for him that told him that it's real?
He said that he asked a lot of people whether they'd seen anything, because he said when we were baptized in I guess for a pool, for one of a better description. It was a little pool, but it was enough that we could be fully immersed. And he said that he saw when the pastor put the sign of the cross on my forehead, that he saw smoke. And for him, that was he kept asking everybody else if they saw it, because he said when he put the cross on my forehead that he saw like smoke, and that for him that was quite amazing, and that was I guess it just made him feel more comfortable with the process, and that God was there then.
I hope it was white smoke.
Yes. yes, it was.
Good. Because I don't know if you heard my black smoke story that was pouring out of my head once upon a time.
Oh, I did.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. That must have been scary. Was that scary?
No, not at all. It was.
Because you knew what it was.
I knew what it was. I knew it was all the crap leaving me. Yeah. I knew that the process had begun for ego to be diminished, shall we say. I mean, and that's the ongoing battle with all of us, isn't it? It's getting rid of me. It's getting rid of me in the process and making it all about Christ. And so, so to see that,
with my ego.
Well, we all do. And as time goes on, because of my ego, I was seeing it in everybody else too. I was seeing everybody else's ego, and then over time, as your own ego diminishes, you start actually having more empathy for the ego. You start realizing why people do what they do, and it's because of ego. But I don't know. I find myself more empathetic towards people now, and
Wow.
what they're up against, and the battle with ego. I find myself more. I don't know if you want to call it more forgiving, more understanding, excusing people for the things they do more now. So I guess that maybe is also a sign that more black smoke is headed out of my head. I don't know, but there is a process in there. There's certainly a process in there.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. I think what's exciting for me, I guess, is because this journey is still so new for both of us, and that we're sharing it together, and that there's just so much to learn and so much to experience that it's really exciting. And I'm looking forward to sort of keeping on the journey and getting to know Christ more and more as I sort of work on that relationship. I think you're inspiring people, and you're really lighting up the flame in people by the stories that you share and by the way that you talk about those stories and the way that you interview people. And so thank you for all of your work.
God bless you. We are going to come to Australia sometime. I know it. We haven't been there yet, but
Great.
I think it would be absolutely wonderful. Nobody really eats that Vegemite stuff, do they?
Oh, it's the best. The problem is everyone eats it wrong. So you have to eat it with lots and lots of like hot toast, piping hot toast, lots of butter, and just like a smidgen of Vegemite, just like smeared, just a tiny, tiny little bit. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mispronounced it. Vegemite.
It's super salty. So it's just like a savory breakfast. And we have it for breakfast. We just pop it on some hot toast with lots of butter, and Bob's your uncle.
What's that last phrase? Say that again.
Bob's your uncle.
Bob's your uncle, which means it's really good.
Everything's good.
Yeah, good old Bob. This is great. I love hearing this stuff. This is awesome. All right, there's Karen Riddle. And when she drops the Vegemite, look the other way. Just look the other way. I'm just saying, it's a mess. Just look the other way. God is so busy shooting off that flare gun. He's doing it globally, and he's doing it individually. I'm telling the story at St. Francis Xavier. This is just a great example of God being God, then, now, and in the future. Same things are happening. It's the same God. It's the same angels. And Karen, as much as you kind of go, I never felt scared. I never, all that. I don't think, excuse me, but I don't think you're alive today. I don't think you're alive today unless you listen to that angel, that voice. I mean, to see a man who was turned around, he was coming for you, wasn't he? For a reason. I don't know what that thing was, but it was important to them that you not see it, and it was important to God that you not see it, whatever that was. It was that important. I think it saved your life. I do, and you obeyed. This is the moment of encounter that we pray happens to us, that moment where we say, you're here. And because God wants a relationship with Karen for the rest of her life. And this right here, right now is so emphatic. No angel voice before this, none so far afterwards. This is the moment that says, I'm real. This is the moment of relationship. And this is the moment where when you say to someone who just has a hard time comprehending relationship with God, how do you have a relationship with God? Relationships with people is when you go out to dinner and you go to a movie, you talk to people, you talk about your stuff. Well, guess what? This is the moment that begins that process that no matter where Karen goes, God's with her. Christ is with her. No matter where she goes, she now can have a conversation with God. It may feel one-sided. It's not. God's hearing every syllable. And she now is invited to be open to hearing, in a very special way, his voice in her life. This is the God people don't know exists. It's just a great story. Come and hear great stories about how God speaks. That'll be September 5th, a Wednesday, St. Francis Xavier Church in Medina between 7 and 8 o'clock. I hope to see you there. It's free, so bring fellow believers, non-believers, lukewarm, hot, cold. Sounds like I'm doing laundry now. Yeah, just bring the laundry, whatever. Thanks for listening to Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. You have a story. Contact me at touchedbyheaven.net. I want to hear from you. touchedbyheaven.net. Contact me there. If there is a church or an upcoming event that this message would resonate, then let it resonate. Contact me at touchedbyheaven.net. I'll see you next week on Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. I'm Trapper Jack.